significant.
So thousands of privates over the years.
I would say 1,000.
Wow, that's incredible.
So that would equate to having spent enough of like a house deposit.
Yeah.
Probably. I would have dropped about 80 grand. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Bulletproof for BJJ podcast. Thank you. Thank all of you. For all of you who have gotten on board, you have liked, you have subscribed, you've given us a 5-star rating, and we love you for that. And so we usually do the ask, but now is the time to give the praise, the thanks, and the appreciation for all of you taking the time to make the effort to help us out. So thanks.
Yeah, subscribe. The reviews and subscribers are growing. However, fam, shit. We haven't hit 1,000 5-star likes, right?
It's gone.
My earphones are up.
Jeez, you're way up, bro.
Yeah, I'm coming down now, baby.
Joey's booming down in the earphones.
Shit's intense today. Oh wait, I have control over the intensity.
You do.
But yeah, we like what we started with, like a few hundred.
Yeah, it's gone up like 250.
That's mad.
Which is great. Like so good.
And roughly how many people listen to an episode every month? Tens of thousands, right?
Yeah.
Like 30, 50,000?
Over 50,000 people.
All right. So I'm going to say that probably, let's be liberal and say half of you think we're dickheads and you just listen to the show because you want to hear it crash and burn. Fair enough. I don't expect you to give us a 5-star review. However, there's 20 odd thousand. No, or not. Let's say that it's been, I don't know. Let's say there's 5,000 people that are like, I don't want you guys to crash and burn. I'd like you to stick around. I'm going to leave you a 5-star review. Please go and do that now.
Yes.
It goes so far for us.
It's huge.
Legends.
Thank you. All right. So BJJ Private Lessons. This is a big part of jiu-jitsu culture. Coaches offer them, like head coaches as well as their kind of senior students offer them.
Yep.
And they are definitely a good way to...
Man, every motherfucker offers them these days.
Everybody could get it.
And I got no problem with that. But hey, man, I spent 3 days training over at this joint. I'll give you some private... and, you know, whatever. You got some information, share it.
Yeah, sure. There's definitely opportunity for people to learn and opportunity for people to make money. But then also there's a bit of a greasy side to it. I had heard of 2 specific gyms, one an international gym, one a local gym, where you had to do a certain number of privates to grade. Like if you don't get your 15 privates in, you're not going up a belt.
Wow.
That's kind of extortionate. You know, that's like you're paying for like if it's $100 for a private and you got to do 15 of them, that's $1,500 for you to grade.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, look, immediately to me, I'm like, ooh, sounds extortionary.
It sounds sketchy.
But here's the flip side of that is that you're saying to people usually, you're saying you got to come to classes in order to get graded. That's usually considered fine. Like you got to show up to classes, but you're still making people pay for classes. So that extortionary mechanism is arguably still in place.
No,
it's just not as inflated.
No, but let's say I hear what you're saying there, right? But it is complicit in service that you pay your $50 a week to be part of this thing. That's what you do.
Yeah.
It's up to you how much you engage in it. Because one person might pay $50 a week and go once a week. Another person pays $50 a week and they're there 12 times a week.
True.
So you're going to know that the person who's putting in big volume gets better faster. It doesn't mean long term they're the best because they might flame out, right? But it's equal opportunity. But when you say, oh, no, I don't care how many times you've come to class, you have to pay this money to pass this bar, that's a little bit different.
I agree. I agree.
Right. So, but hear me out because this is I'm not being anti-private lesson here.
Yeah,
I've learned a lot.
I got another pushback on that.
Please.
What if, and I'm looking at this from a fitness perspective, like from a gym perspective, right?
Sure.
So maybe a bit more global in that way.
Yeah.
What if you run like a smaller gym, boutique gym, and for you, it's and you're the coach, right? And it's paramount that you get structured one-to-one time with students to discuss their game, strategizing, sports psychology, right? Let's say you need, because you're like, man, class gives a lot of stuff. I'm going to teach you the techniques, but for us to really get in on you, we need one-to-one time. Could a coach be like, well, that to me is considered essential, And in that way, privates and group, it's the combination of the two. I'm going to say like not a private a week, right? But if you were like, look, man, I want to do 2 privates with you while you're like every 6 months or every year.
Yeah, I don't think it's...
Is that extortionary, or could that be considered appropriate?
No, but there's plenty of coaches who do that anyway. They don't charge for it.
Yeah, they're the ones whose gyms normally close because they
don't
make
make
bank.
No, that's not necessarily true. No, I understand the room for it, right? Because it's like the personal training of BJJ.
Yeah.
And I have built my career on personal training, right? That's how I have been able to be successful, is working with one-on-one relationships with people to help them get better at fitness instead of having them just wander around not knowing what the fuck to do. So I believe having someone work with you personally and guide you is really important. And if you're at a big gym, maybe the only way you can get attention from your coach in that specific way is through private lessons.
Throw that money. Hey, over here.
Hey, coach,
over here, man.
And it's like coach comes over, starts doing a lap dance for you. Like,
what's your name again? 2 stripes, right?
That's right. Pretty much. No, I don't, because the interesting thing for me has been, I've been really lucky that I've saved up a bunch of money, paid extra money to have more time with specific coaches, and it meant that I had better relationships with them because they knew my game. So they could, in class, tell me, don't do that. What are you doing? Change that. Because they just knew.
Yeah.
Right? I had paid.
And you've invested more, and so they usually invest more in you.
And this is law of reciprocity, Joe.
The energetic nature of money.
There you go. This is a thing, right? And so, like I said, I don't want anyone to think that I am, we're using this discussion to demonize. We're not. Because here's the thing. I feel like I've made leaps and bounds through getting private lessons. So, for example, someone like a famous person might be staying in your area for a while, and they do a seminar. But you don't necessarily get everything you want from the seminar. There may be an opportunity to do a private lesson. Now, it might be a once in a lifetime thing that the person who is the best at Spider Guard, or the person who's the best at the Toriando Pass or whatever, you actually get to spend an hour with them giving you all the details that took them 10 years to learn. And now you have that in your pocket, and you know it. And that can be really valuable, especially if you intend to coach and teach. You can be like, I learned this from the person who invented this, or I learned the De La Riva guard from De La Riva, the person themselves, you know?
Yeah.
So I think there's huge value in investing in private lessons. Like, I have benefited from it, and I have also been able to help students when they've done private lessons with me.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, it's a two-way thing. They're investing more in you because you're like paying a premium rate to learn the thing. And this, and then the other side is that you invest more in your training because you've paid more for this thing. You like really bring the focus and attention. You're not f***ing around in that 60, 90-minute private. You're like, I paid a lot for this. You value it.
You care about it.
And that's a really cool thing, because then you start to value the information and you value your game. And when you show up to training over the next weeks following that, you like value each opportunity to embody what you learned.
Yes.
Like it does have many benefits. Of course, there's always room for people. Anytime there's an exchange of money or whatever, there's an opportunity for people to abuse that thing, right? But yeah, generally, I think amazing.
Yeah, and look, I think the great thing about jiu-jitsu now is it has been democratized. There's people everywhere who are good at all different kinds of games. So you don't necessarily have to go to Brazil, or you don't have to travel to the specific gym of that master practitioner, say. You could train with their best student who has a school in Hawaii or somewhere in Germany or something, and you're like, wow, I learnt a great game somewhere else.
Yeah, you could do something online potentially.
Yeah, there's a lot more of that. Like, I've seen Atomic Dojo. Our friend Jeremy Paul Skinner, he's doing online coaching and breakdowns.
Nice.
Also,
that's another like coaching. It's a coaching platform.
Yeah, coaching platform online. That's
Very
his
cool.
thing, where people are getting coaching. Some pretty high level competitors getting some input from him because he's a very analytical dude.
Yep.
Even if we look at B Team, have they have some tutorials on submeta.
Yep.
And they have breakdown. Not only do they have their content on there, they have breakdowns. So it'll have Nicky Ryan breaking down his role with Ethan, or here's me competing at this competition, here's what I do here. And so it's more advanced learning. But I think what can be really good now is having somebody like it doesn't have to be someone from your gym, giving you a digital private where you send them your comp footage and they tell you what you did wrong and what you need to fix. And
oh, bro, you see what you did there? You got swept. That was a mistake.
Don't do that again.
See when you got armbarred? Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Let's cut that out.
You're like, yes, thank you, coach. Us.
Here is all my money. Here's $1,200.
Yeah, the repayments will continue for the next 36 months.
Interest rates.
Yeah, there's no guarantee on what kind of service you're going to get with any online business, bro.
No,
but no,
that
good.
said, I think there's a lot of ways you can do it.
Tell me how many privates you done, how often did you do them?
Pretty countless.
Yeah, right.
Every major coach who I have trained under, I've had private lessons with. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want the best gear for BJJ, you need to go to pariathletics.com. These are our guys. They support the show. George, great guy, great creator, awesome colors, awesome styles, and also the best fit. It feels great. And that's the thing. It's not just that it looks good, it feels good. And the thing that for me, I love the most is I can wear the stuff at jiu-jitsu, but then also they've got that other side, the cool side, where you can wear it off the mats. And they are our exclusive partner in apparel. If you want to get bulletproof gear, you've got to go to pariathletics.com. And when you buy anything at checkout, enter bulletproof20 for 20% off. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The only person who's hard to get a private lesson off is Lachlan Giles.
Really?
He's like, no, man, I'll just show you in class. It's fine. I'm like, no, I want to give you money and I want you to show me the thing. He's like, no, it's fine. No, don't. He's just really, cut it out. No, it's fine. I'll just ask me in class. That's fine. But I actually think it's laziness. I think he doesn't want to do private lessons. He's like, I'll do the class. I'm happy to spend extra time in class because I'll solve your problem there. But once class is over, I need to go have a nap.
I mean, I
got kids.
I think it's just he knows what he likes and what he doesn't like.
Yeah, sure.
You know?
And I think, well, the thing is, what you come to learn over time is that, especially if you've got tens and hundreds and potentially thousands of people over the year asking you for a private lesson, you've only got so much time, right?
Oh, yeah.
So really, you want to get a room full of really astute people who pick up whatever the you're putting down. You know, it doesn't have to be a huge mat, but like say 10 or 20 people who are quick learners. You show the thing, they look, they ask questions, they do it. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of learner he's going for. And I know Lockie teaches big seminars and he teaches to broader classes, but in terms of his input, he prefers. But anyway,
I also think in some ways jiu-jitsu doesn't necessarily lend itself to one-to-one being the most effective format often. Like I think like 2 or 3 to 1 can be really nice.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like sometimes you can give someone some information like,
sure.
I'm struggling with this. And you're like, cool, here's what I want you to do. And it's not a case of let's practice reps of that today. It's like now go away and work with that information.
Yeah.
And then let's check back in.
So, I mean, there's a gap here. And this is actually something I want to bring up in this. But speaking to that point of when I was in Brazil, it was always 2 to 1. And that is how it all started, apparently. So I was listening to Robert Drysdale talk about like the original format wasn't classes. The master would come and would teach you with a +1.
Right.
Would show the technique on the +1 or the position and then get you to do it on the +1 and they would adjust you.
Right.
You know, and it was only taught through private training. There wasn't group classes. That came later in the piece. So early in the jiu-jitsu journey, it was built on private, or at least the Gracies built their teaching on private sessions 1 to 2. And that's how they taught private lessons at Alliance as well, which I found really interesting because it also gives a degree of mentorship to the +1.
Yeah.
They learn how to whatever's going on there.
Yeah.
And then ultimately over time that becomes a trade they can turn.
Yeah.
You know, this idea of jiu-jitsu personal training.
Yes.
But I think it is good for the individual who's trying to learn to have another body there so the coach can step back and see where you're making mistakes.
Yeah.
I'd be like, no, hang on, do it again, but pull your elbow in. Or when you're here, push the hip here. Oh, okay. Now repetitions. Now, the way it's done is different gym to gym, instructor to instructor. That's what I'd say. I would say I've done, probably 1,000 private lessons in my jiu-jitsu career.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you do those back at white belt or did that come later?
I did 20 when I was a white belt, and I probably did my most amount of private lessons at blue and purple.
Wow.
Yeah, I paid.
You did 20 at white belt.
Yeah.
For what?
To get good at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, but you know what I'm getting at, as in like, they're like to get better, just
I didn't understand certain things.
Right, so it's like, but reviewing stuff that was in that you were working on in classes?
No, the way it was so I did those with Peter Devine. Shout out, salute to the legend. He had a very specific way of teaching, and he would go, "Let's go to the position. Show me what you're trying to do to me here," and he would go, "No, stop doing that. Do this. Okay, try that." But then there was always a degree of he was trying to teach me in a kind of in a layman's way how to think about the problem. Like he didn't really have the Pete is possibly not the most articulate bloke. He's very he's trying to get it, so you get it, like that. Right. So but he's incredibly intelligent, but he wasn't like a jiu-jitsu intellectual, even though he had really complex, higher level understanding of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And one of the things he said to me, which really stuck with me, which highlighted how complex jiu-jitsu is, he said it's like trading stocks, whereas you place different bets and your bets are energy related. Mm-hmm. So you might be going for a pass, say, and you're putting a lot of money or energy there, but then suddenly the person reorganizes their grips and your stock's crashing. You don't want to keep putting energy there because it's not going to work. Yeah. You've got to have a look at what stock is now improving. Oh, I might be able to do this other pass. Right. Or I might be able to do this other submission. So I'm going to put... But he's like, but if you don't pay attention, if you can't juggle 4 or 5 things in your head at once and you can only think about one thing and all you're thinking is apply more energy, just buy, you're going to crash and burn. Right. He's like, you've got to be able to do this mental juggle of, they put their foot there. That's changed things. I need to do this. And he was really talking about being adaptive and having awareness. Right. And I was like, whoa, shit. I never even thought about jiu-jitsu in that way. Every time I've done these kind of lessons, the sage advice has been like a bomb drop where I've gone, what the fuck? Like, mind blown. So then I was like, right, I now understand jiu-jitsu is really complicated, but I still don't get it. So that was a lot.
See you next week for the next lesson.
Yeah, that's right. Sifu. We need emotional content. Hit me in the head. So, yeah, man, there was a lot of me not understanding. Yep. A lot of my private lessons were me not getting it. Like I did 5 private lessons with Fabio Gurgel, $500 a pop. Yeah, but this is right at the point in time where he didn't want to do private lessons anymore. And then I think he made him like $1,000, and then you just couldn't. There wasn't an option.
Priced out.
Yeah, but I was just super lucky that I actually got to do private lessons with Fabio. And
500 reals?
No, 500 bucks. Oof. Yeah.
Shit.
Legit. You want to hang out with that guy? It's expensive.
I know a guy, a friend, runs a big gym, been PTing forever, and his PT sessions are 400, I think. He said, well, my PT, if you want to do an hour with me, it's either 400 or it's free. Right. So he's like, I still give, coach the odd person for free, but basically when I'm not particularly interested, you're going to pay me 400. Yeah, which is the price that you need to get motivated. It's very fair enough. Yeah, and if someone wants it enough.
In a lot of ways, it's the same for me with PT. Like I'm kind of priced out. Like I used to do it, but now it's like cost per hour. I'd rather help more people, right? Like it just doesn't make sense unless it's a seminar, really. But the thing with Fabio, like when I think back on shit I've said, like for some of you, I forget what I said 5 minutes ago, but when it's embarrassing, you remember, right? I'm talking to Fabio Gurgel. It's like talking Buddhism with Buddha. I had him in my closed guard. He's like, what's your best game? I said, closed guard. I'm very new blue belt. It's like 2010, I think, 2011. And he was like, okay, what do you do when they open your guard? And I was like, they don't. What are you talking about? He's like, no. What happens when the person opens your guard? And I'm like, no, once I get closed guard, it's over. Bodies hit the floor, It's just like I see red. It's game over. No, he was like, okay, put me in your closed guard. And he just stood up and just like jaws of life, just opened my legs. I had pretty strong legs. I was like, God damn. And he's like, right, I've opened your guard. What do you do now? I was like, oh, I do a bit of half guard. And he's like, no, all right, stop. It's all right. Let's talk about this.
He says to someone in Portuguese, how do you say an idiot in English?
Filha da puta. Yeah. No, but he was really patient with me, right? Because he could see I didn't have a clue, but I was super willing to learn.
Yeah.
And he said, look, there's a big difference between someone opening your guard and you electively opening your guard and then doing the next thing. He's like, you don't want to be the second mover. You don't want to have them open your guard and then you're reacting. You want to initiate opening the guard and then be doing the next thing to the sweep or whatever else.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to learn more about De La Riva and reverse De La Riva and all this stuff. And I was like, great, cool. And then once we started to do that, he started to explain more of the philosophy of jiu-jitsu as well. So there was probably 40 minutes, which was jiu-jitsu, and 20 minutes, which was like the lessons of jiu-jitsu and why that's important and what you need to understand. And I was like, fuck, it got a bit spiritual. I was like, wow, it felt very important coming out of like him saying those words. I was like, wow.
You paid $500 for those words, son.
I valued them. I valued them highly. Please, any words. He burps.
Judge is like, try not to use so much strength. Got it.
Oh, no, he never said that.
No,
actually.
he's not that guy.
No.
I actually saw Bernardo Faria post. You see that post he
Classic,
put?
yeah.
He wasn't talking about Fabio, but one of his previous
his
coaches.
original coach.
Yeah, which I like that. The quote, his coach said to him, because he used a lot of strength, but he said, do you get tired? And he's like, no, I don't. He said, great, keep using
going.
your strength.
Yeah. I love that video actually because he says, I use too much strength. And he said, no, do you get tired? No. Okay. And he just like, because Bernardo is renowned for being one of the hardest roles of all time.
Yeah.
Like he fights to the death. That's his intensity. He's got that. Do you find you get thirsty at training? I do. I do all the time. I'm a sweaty human and I need to hydrate. Now, the biggest problem is by the time you're thirsty, it's a little bit late. You need to hydrate. And that's why we got Sodi. Sodi is sponsoring the show. We've got all the colors of the rainbow. Great flavors here. We've got salty citrus, salty pineapple, salty berry, and my favorite, salty grapefruit. And they will be releasing 2 new mystery flavors soon. So why do we need this? It's going to prevent our muscle cramps. It's going to help our energy delivery. And it's also going to mean you're less tired, which is an advantage when you're training. If you want to maximize your jiu-jitsu and feel good when you're rolling, you need to get Sodi. And when you purchase, enter the code Bulletproof20 at checkout for 20% off. Oh, yeah. But, I did a lot of private lessons with Daniel Terabin, and he said some game-changing shit to me, which blew my mind.
Yeah.
Like one of those things I learned in a private lesson was he said, passing is just guarding from on top. A guard pass
That's cool.
is a sweep from the top.
Right.
I was like, what? What the? He's like, because he thinks about jiu-jitsu in a 3D kind of way. So he's thinking about organizing grips and how you do that. And his guard is phenomenal. And I was really good at guard when I first started training with him. Well, I was okay at guard. He helped me take my level up. And I was trying to play on top and I sucked. And he's like, no, man, it's a sweep, but you're on top. And I was like, what? So the more I thought about this, it just really landed, even though that sounds not very profound.
Well, you can take something from it or you can be like, that's silly.
Sounds,
I get the point.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was another huge kind of breakthrough for me when I was thinking about guard passing.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, it's stuff like that. Like it was just every time I would pay for a private lesson, I was, like you were saying, more invested.
Yeah.
And so it felt like the lesson was more significant.
So thousands of privates over the years.
I would say 1,000.
Wow, that's incredible.
So that would equate to having spent enough of like a house deposit.
Yeah.
Probably. I would have dropped about 80 grand on private lessons.
Wow.
Too much, my friends, too much.
I did one private once last year.
But it was good, right?
It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was mad.
Yeah. And here we both sit.
Yeah.
one of us with 100
But
grand.
I did just buy a house.
Mother. Here's me crying over rental prices. Oh my God. Anyway, that's the game, folks. But let's talk about your journey, you the listener, because you might be early to the game and you don't necessarily know where you're going wrong. And this is where I think feedback's important. We've talked about this before in terms of coaching.
Yeah, when should you do a private? Let's answer that question.
So I think you need to have a base level amount of training in the system. Like at least 3 months to accumulate mistakes. So let me say this. I don't think you should be doing privates from day one because you haven't accumulated enough mistakes to have good questions. Your questions are dumb questions. Your questions are like, how should I tie my belt? Or, I keep getting kicked in the leg and it hurts. What do I do about that? Eat it. Like there's a lot of stuff that will get answered over time through just doing a normal class. But then there will be absolute gems of knowledge which you will miss if you don't get feedback past a certain point. And I believe it's like a 3 to 6 months. You need to have at least gotten that under your belt.
Yeah, I think I would generally agree. However, I'd offer an alternative view, which is you going to training and paying for your membership is an investment of time and money, right? And there's periods in any kind of engagement like that where for some people they'll be able to look at it and go, wow, I got very little returns over that period. So I'm thinking of this could be so many different scenarios, but someone who's like maybe a little bit not particularly confident with the whole thing, jumps into a gym, is finding it a bit hard to get things going. And maybe that person has like the first 8 weeks, like a couple of months where it's just like all a bit chaotic and they're not retaining anything. And maybe they break through and then it's like better. And you could say that process is great. Or as an alternative, maybe you did a private in the very beginning and were like, look, I'm really unconfident with this thing. I find the classes are super hectic. I feel a bit overloaded. And the coach, if they're good, can be like, great, let's just simmer it down to like a couple of key things and so in that way you're like, awesome, I paid a little bit extra for that one session, but now I'm like building on that week by week.
Yeah.
So I think like, you could totally use it in that way, which is maybe less technical, more kind of like maybe to build a base of like confidence to show up and like bring your best to class.
Yeah, and look, it could be at any stage, really.
Yeah.
Like you can have those phases at blue, purple, and brown.
Dude, my first private was at black belt.
There you go.
And I was like, and it was with Coach Paul Smeebert, shout out Coach Paul. And I was like, man, I don't know, I just need to cover some shit. And he was like, yeah, cool. And we got together and then he's like, what's your guard retention like? And turns out I was making some silly mistakes. And he's like, let's just work on that.
Cool.
And I was like, this is sick.
Yeah.
Like, this is sick. And then immediately I was like working my guard retention and making the mistakes less. And like, I got so much out of that one session.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's hard to quantify, actually. You might get 5 or 6 things that then just jump your jiu-jitsu up.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, how come I didn't do this sooner or whatever?
But for a white belt hearing that, I'm sure they're like, they cannot fathom how a black belt could ever need help with their guard retention.
Maybe, but maybe.
But and that's the reality of it. And like, I mean, I might say the same thing, but but the reality is that shit just changes a lot, and there's always going to be gaps emerging in what you do. And so, like at any point, like you said, it can be of benefit to go and get someone to shine a spotlight on your game.
I mean, for me, I usually like to pick a person who's really good at a thing and then pick their brain on the thing.
Yeah, which you do. I feel like you have a very encyclopedic kind of approach to jits. Like, you know what everyone does, you know and you like to know. I'm very different in that way, because I just simply don't think I could absorb and recall. So I'm like, nah, I just want like 2 things that I can do.
Right, yeah.
But like your style is very, like, it's really impressive the way you have that recall.
I don't know. Maybe
it is, bro.
It just occupies too much space in my mind.
I mean, yeah, you obviously put time and effort into it, but no, it is like I can ask you any question on the mats and you'll be like, well, here's how 6 world champions would approach that.
Well, yeah, it's interesting to me because there are so many ways to skin a cat, right? Like Nicky Ryan does it like this, or fucking Dante does it like that, or whatever. And so I admire all these people. I think, fuck, how does that guy do that shit? That's magical. How does he do that? And then I watch the video 1,000 times. I'm like, right, getting it, understand it, yep. And then if I actually get a chance to meet that person, I'm like, dude, you remember in this match where you did X, Y, Z? And you're like, yeah. What the fuck there? And they go, oh, I just do it like this. Oh my God. Right? Because that's the devil's in the detail, right? Like,
Yeah.
Oh man, I just kick him in the hip. You're like, what? I couldn't see it. Yeah, I just boot him in the boom and it pops out. It's like, what the fuck? I never thought to do that, right? And so here's the thing. We admire these people, but they're human, and these skills they have are skills you can learn as well. And that's how I think about it. If it bleeds, we can kill it. I always imagine that I'm good enough to beat everybody, which is not true. But then I always like to analyze someone's game.
I mean, you act like you're good enough to beat anybody.
Because I am Joseph Worthington.
Speak like you.
In my day. No. But I look at a person's game, I'm like, I want to understand it. And I'm like, how could I beat it? Or how could I absorb that? You know, that usually, I don't know, in video games, the ultimate villain, not always, but back in the day, the final boss is kind of yourself. You have to fight like the better version of you. It's like kind of glowing, pulsing, fucking exerting laser beams out the eyes version of you. You're like, this is going to be hard to beat. So ultimately, you are trying to beat yourself. But when I think about all the people I have access to, and we have access to, very lucky, we all like to specialize in something. Me, I'm actually a jiu-jitsu generalist. I try to be as good as I can at as many different things as possible. So I will go and talk to Jeremy Skinner about a thing, talk to Lachlan about a thing, talk to whoever. If they're really good at something, hey man, can you teach that to me? And I don't try and pretend that I'm as good as them at the thing, but I try and make sure that my knowledge is okay there.
Got 80% of that.
Ish, not even, just 60%. So at least I can understand.
You can hang with them.
Yeah,
Yep.
just get it in my brain. So for anyone out there, if you've never had a private lesson, I think it's a really good thing to do because, I mean, maybe they don't have that at your gym. Most gyms do. But it will, I think, improve your relationship with your coach because they will start to understand what you're doing, which will mean, and this isn't just sheer bribery like I give you money, now you pay attention to me. It's not that. They can see you give a fuck about jiu-jitsu. They can see you care about your own learning, and therefore there will be a natural bias for them to be like, yeah, this person is trying.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. They're being exceptional about how they approach this thing.
Yeah, because not everyone does that.
No, that's right. Yeah, that's right. You're building more of a personal connection, and that's worth value to a person.
Yeah. And then the total counterpoint to this is there's plenty of people out there who get good at jiu-jitsu, no private lessons, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Joey's pretty good
Buy
example.
The house.
Plenty of people out there are landowners with successful careers and also do jiu-jitsu. And then there's just those homeless jiu-jitsu rats.
You wouldn't say it's
done all
essential.
The privates. Look how tattered my belt is.
I will tell you anything about any technique. Let me in the house.
The guy on the sidewalk with the cardboard.
Shake.
We'll roll for money.
But yeah, no, it's it's whatever you want it to be, right? But like, I've seen in the gym, like with strength training and stuff, how a private session can just accelerate somebody's growth.
Yeah.
It can just put them on a trajectory that's like, because for all those reasons we mentioned, right? The investment, the new information, the how they're applying themselves to their future training and stuff. So it can be such a worthwhile thing. I mean, I'm saying that as I did that one, I'm like, I should have done these more.
Yeah. But me personally, I think other than learning new stuff, it's the feedback. Getting the feedback and having someone up close to look at what you're doing and paying for their attention, they are also more invested than just in a normal class.
Yep.
They are really focused and they really want you to get better, so they're going to give you better quality feedback. So that's the argument for it, folks. The private lesson, it should be for you. I think it's worth a try.
Yeah, but if it is part of your belt grading system, just, I don't know, maybe have a think about it. Step back, have a look.
Something to consider.
Am I in a cult?
Are we all?
Yes, we are.